Okay, we're up and running, are we? Good morning, gang. Good morning, gang. So, what are we doing here? Did we finish off? No, we didn't finish off that little bit yesterday. So what we're going to be into is we'll finish off a little tip of the last tentacle I didn't get to yesterday, then we'll start another one of these two. So nothing new today, just more continuing the same thing. When I read back through yesterday's chat stream later in the evening, I'd been cleaning up and saving things, whatever, going through what was on the computer, and I read back through yesterday's stream. I see people are talking about the dot. I popped off a dot the other day. I can't remember exactly when, but I was doing this and I carved away one of the dots by mistake. And there was questions about, am I going to fix it? Am I going to repair it? And no, I think that would be a bridge too far. And, it's not necessary, you know. Then having said that, we also, yesterday's stream, I was busy sitting here carving and chatting with Cameron. And at one point during that work, I'm not even sure where it was somewhere around here yesterday, I got my negatives and positives confused. I don't even know where it was. Somewhere here maybe, because these bumped together. I'm not sure. I got my negatives and positives confused, and I cut away a few dots, and I put a few dots where they shouldn't have been. And whatever common sense rules, just leave it. Nobody would ever know. This is simply a speckled textured pattern on the skin. So if the original carver had been doing this and had seen such a thing, of course he would have just gone ahead and done it. You know? So am I going to fix that dot mistake? No. Am I going to plug it and chop it? No. There's common sense levels on how to do these things. So we're doing a reproduction of this print, a very, very well conceived reproduction of this print, but is it microscopically exact in every way? No, of course not. There's a level of common sense on how far to go with these things. Part of it too is there's not so much of it on this print. In fact, there might not be any of it, but there's one place when we are carving where we do what's called scratch carving. The idea in the original print is to have a line that looks like it was drawn with a brush, so it's a bit dry. So as you're carving, you carve a nice smooth line first, and then you distress it. You bang it, bang it, bang it, bang it, bang it, bang it with a knife. And they come out as random patterns, and you can never reproduce something like that, because when the next carver coming along bangs it with his knife randomly, of course it's microscopically different patterns. So you can reproduce the feel, the look and feel, but you don't reproduce it microscopically dot for dot. Anyway, long answer to a short question. Am I going to fix that broken dot? No, of course not. Okay, that's one more zone for us. Okay, let's zoom out, pick another zone to work on. Conversation this morning. Well, Cameron won't be here today. It's the weekend. He won't be here today or tomorrow. Just me today. What are you talking about? They've mentioned my name a couple of times. I don't understand what you're referring to. Up in the thread here. Found a video on YouTube by a different printer. I don't know what you're referring to. I don't have time to look it up, but I can guess it's probably Keiji Shinohara, the guy with the printer who's doing the rubbing his old baron on his face and stuff like that. If that's him, it's Keiji Shinohara. I think he teaches at Wesleyan University. He visited here a couple of years ago. We know each other. Anyway, back to work. Okay, let's pick a zone. I'm here. Yeah, with each one of these zones, it's the same thing. First, we have to outline. In the original print, there's an orange outline around each of the tentacles. So we've got to carve that in first, which is why we left it here on the key block. Then once the outline of the tentacle is carved, we wash this off and we paste on the dot pattern. So let me just check this one. There's orange at the bottom, along the side, all the way up around, ending about the tip, so somewhere on there. This will be the orange highlight along the edge of the tentacle. It'll stay. And it fades out somewhere around here. Yesterday when I did this on the other tentacle, I carved away a bit too much on this side, so some of the dots that were supposed to be in this area, I carved away where they were supposed to be. So this time let's keep this just really tight. It's coming off in one piece. Okay, now wash off the paper just in that one zone. We've got all the information now that we need from this piece of Gampi paper. We've cut out the suckers and we've cut out the line along the edge. That's all the information we need from it, so now it's out of our way. And same place now, we need to paste down the tracing that we made here on the iPad, and that's this piece here. And to get it in the right place, we have a transfer sheet that we made. Can't see, wrong glasses. Okay. Okay. Get our glue. Okay, here we go. Let's zoom in and get to it. So somewhere in the middle, I think, and spread out each way, I think. How did it go with the people coming to talk about a job yesterday? I know there was 2 people came yesterday. One was the young boy who you saw just came in the door just as the stream was starting, and then so the girl showed up too just about that time. The two of them spent the day here. We sort of, I can't say we hired them. We gave them a timesheet, said we'd book them in to do some practice and stuff like this, and the 2 of them spent the day here. They joined print parties. Teiko-san showed them around what to do, how to work this, how to work that. We treated them like 2 brand new trainees on the job. And we are desperate for the next couple of months for people that can help us out here and can do print parties and run little bits into this here and there in the shop. So the 2 of them basically signed them on yesterday. Neither of them are looking for full-time work, which is what we can't offer. And what they're both looking for is something interesting to do for a few days a week to practice their English and to earn some money and to do something interesting, which fits exactly with our requirements. So we basically, quote unquote, hired them yesterday on that basis. They're going to come and do 1 or 2 days a week to hang around for a while first to learn the ropes here. And then they're going to be on the standby crew once we hit the big season coming in a few weeks from now. So they both turned out to be okay. They're smart, seemingly intelligent people, both very personable, chatted easily all day long, talked with the customers already, even though they didn't know anything. So yeah, it was a good start. It's not so easy to find people that are congenial people that can speak English and that look like they're trainable to have knowledge about woodblock prints and stuff. So. Both of them have experience overseas. The girl has lived in Shanghai for a bunch of years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I think she said. She was born in America, actually, to Japanese parents who were over there working with a car company or something, so she's got some English ability there. And the boy's been to university in Birmingham in England, and he can turn on the accent too. It was funny to hear this guy speak with a Midlands accent from Britain. That's going to be good fun in the print parties when UK people. See, we may have a couple more people for the team. We'll see. These next couple of days are going to be a bit crazy. It's another long weekend here. The Japanese government is really confused about the way they want to treat the holidays and stuff. Last weekend was a 3-day long weekend, and this weekend is a 3-day long weekend. Not complaining for us because Asakusa jumps. Whenever there's a 3-day weekend, this joint jumps for all 3 days in a row. That part of it doesn't really affect our business so much because the Japanese visitors here aren't attracted to our place, but foreign visitors don't even know it's a long weekend. So. But just the whole mood and feeling of the town here is different. Tons of people around, relaxing, chatting. The bars are all doing roaring business. It's just a real nice feeling. We have to make sure we get our own food because we can't go out for lunch and stop at a restaurant to get lunch. It's impossible. There's lineups every restaurant in town here on these long weekends. So we have to stock up first for some food so we can get a quick lunch. Just make every weekend a 3-day weekend. You know, from the overall view of society, you know, I think that might not be such a bad idea. You know, pull back to a 4-day week is what you're talking about. There's not enough jobs to go around in many societies, so pull back to a 4-day share the work around. In Japan, it's not like that because there's not enough workers to go around. It's the other situation. It's not overemployment here. It's, what's the word? It's underemployment. There's not enough workers to fill the jobs. You know? So moving to a 4-day week here, there's no pressure for that at the moment. It's impossible. They want to move to a 7-day week. And the camera's not going to be here this morning to talk about it, but the video experience yesterday, you know, we finally did get it uploaded after all his rendering and re-rendering and working with it, you know. And then, you know, any of those of you who followed it yesterday, you know what happened. Like a few minutes after we uploaded it, mere minutes after we uploaded it, somebody posted that they found a mistake in the audio. And we're like, no way, no way. So we play it back, and there is a mistake in the audio at one place. And the camera was just I can't say devastated, but what reason? After all the checking and re-rendering and checking and re-rendering, there was still a mistake in the audio. And I got some extra track in there, and both tracks were audible or something for a few seconds. So poor guy's really disappointed in that. So I know exactly how it feels. I've been there, done that, you know. I myself am paranoid about these videos, you know. When I quote finished unquote them, I don't just hit the button and upload. I wait, I play it back again. I go to bed, I wake up in the morning, I play it back again. I'm paranoid about having giant mistakes in it. And this is his first one. So he was a bit too eager in retrospect. He and me too, I went along with it, a bit too eager to hit the upload button. So we should have checked. I myself should have gone through it one more time. Because he had done a lot of re-editing, and I should have gone through it one more time. There's so much chance for introducing new mistakes. But I let his enthusiasm, whatever, get the better of me, and I said, okay, let's upload it. And it was a mistake. It's no big tragedy, just one audio glitch. And YouTube doesn't let you fix stuff. You know, you can take down a video and you put up a new one, but you can't fix it. So you can't take a video, edit the audio, and put it back up and have the same URL. And we'd already posted it to Facebook, we'd posted it to Patreon, we'd sent it all over the internet, all over the place, under the original URL. So if we had pulled it down and edited it and put it back up, it would have been a different URL. It just would have been chaos. So we just let it go. The reason Cameron's not here today is because it's Saturday. There's nothing to do with yesterday's video. How many blocks is this print? It's going to be 4 pieces of wood, both carved, all carved on both sides. So it's 8 faces, 4 pieces of wood. That's more than the original. The original wasn't that many. In the original, the lettering was carved on the same block as the key block, the key outlines. And we're doing it differently. We're separating the lettering and the outlines so that we can issue the print in a version without lettering. They may be interested in that, they may not be interested in that. I don't know, I haven't even canvassed potential purchasers yet. So instead of 7 blocks for the print, we're making it on 8. And it's going slowly, you know, when you only do 90 minutes a day on it, less than 90 minutes in real time, actually, you know. Let it go slowly. Any given one of these blocks should be a day or a couple of days work at the most, once the key block is done. But I'm just fooling around, you know, doing other stuff. So it's a bit embarrassing in that sense, you know. How long did Dave take to make his octopus print? Oh, it took a couple of years. The guy really worked hard on it, you know. It's not a couple of years worth of work at all. It's a few weeks worth of work, literally. I think most people understand what's going on. Anyway, it can't be helped. I don't have any choice. I can't sit here all day and carve. Just no way around it. So. Today I'm going to lose the whole day. You know, it's Saturday here. It's going to be a really busy time. Print parties are totally sold out today. There's no room for even one more person in. We're totally sold out. And there's only 2 staff. There's me and Kawaii-san. That's it. There's supposed to be 3 staff plus me on a typical day in the shop. And today there's 1 staff plus me. We're going to go nuts here today, trying to do parties and handle the shop. And it's the same reason I mentioned, we just don't have enough staff. That's why we're trying to get these new people in here to try and learn some of the ropes and see what they can do to help. This is an interesting question. Would you ever consider coming to talk at universities like Jed did? His talk yesterday was incredible. He's at, where is he? Somewhere in Willamette, is that where he's at? The Willamette people asked us both, can you please come and do this? The idea was to have me do, whatever physical demonstrations and stuff, and Jed talk about the concepts and stuff like that, do it together. But I couldn't do it. They asked, I forget what it was. It was going to be one weekend, then something else the next weekend. So it meant staying away for 10 days. And there's absolutely no way I could book away for 10 days. So I just had to say no. Then there was the issue of airplanes and stuff, which I think wasn't going to be covered. So whatever, it was a difficult thing. But I couldn't do it. I can't get away here for 10 days just to go and, I say just, whatever, to go and give a talk at a university. It would be fun. It would be cool. We could do all kinds of, demonstrations and meet and greets and do some couch surfing or whatever. It would have been cool. But I could not say yes to something that would take me out of here for 10 days. Our business is at a difficult stage, At some point in the future, I have to be out of here. I'm going to, quote, leaving, checking out at some point in the future. So our business has got to be designed so that it can operate when I'm not here. So we are trying bit by bit to move towards that area, you saw that with a new video the other day, trying to get staff on board to do all the jobs that I've been doing. Everything from bookkeeping to talking to the customers, to doing print parties, to everything, preparing the hunch for tracing. We've now got 4 carvers here, me, Chon-san, Yumi-san, Kawasaki-san. I'm not doing any printing here at all, so the carving and printing is getting, what's the word? It's getting sent out to other people. Delegated. The carving and printing is getting well delegated. And bit by bit, all the things that I'm doing here are getting, I'm not sure delegated is the right word, but are getting able so that other people can do them. But we're a long way from this yet, where I could just actually do nothing and be the emeritus guy who just does projects. We may never get there, I don't know, but at the moment we're not even remotely close to it. I get my positives and negatives confused here again. That's positive, this is negative, this is out. Where's the line, right? Another thing about those, visits and stuff to universities where whatever was it, 2 years ago I went to Canada to do a couple. The Japanese consulate in, it was Toronto and in Vancouver, they combined. They asked me to go over there and paid my airfare and hotel to go over there. I did a couple of talks on behalf of the Japanese consulate over there. And we managed to schedule it, I think it was happening in February, which is our low time of year here, so I was able to put that together. But it was extremely time consuming, took it out, and I talked to a few dozen people. And that was that. And when you think about it, a few days, to whatever it was, 3, 4, 5 days to talk to a few dozen people. There's kind of a lot better way to use the time. Stay at home, make a nice good YouTube video and talk to 100,000 people. Instead of spending 5 days and talking to 20 people. So, how are we doing for time? Okay, no problem. It's a quiet day today, yes. The chat's not broken. People are just sitting peacefully. I'm very happy with the quiet chat today. I don't want stress and running around because it's going to be an insane day here today. As I mentioned, we're sold out of print parties. The door's going to open at 9:30 and bang. Asakusa will be fun. This knife really does need some maintenance. I don't know if you can see what's been happening here. When we sharpen it on this face, it keeps such a low angle that the metal sleeve here also hits the sharpening stone. And bit by bit, the metal sleeve starts to wear away. And I've been trying to keep the knife at a really low angle to get good, good thin blade in the wood. And it's now the metal sleeve has gone through finally right to the end of it. So the metal sleeve here keeps falling off, and it's pretty much actually about time now to replace the handle, I think. This bevel has become so far worn down that it's time to replace the handle, get a new sleeve and a new handle. I resist doing that because the knives become so much pleasant and fun to use and polished. And the other downside with this handle too, once they become really old, is the slot in the middle has become gradually looser and looser and looser. You can see what's happened here. The blade that I've got inside here today, the blade is quite a thin one. I've been ordering them really, really quite thin. And because the blade is thin to start with, and the slot gradually gets looser and looser and wider as you move the thing around in it over the years. So now the slot is loose and the blade. So I put a piece of sticky tape, this stupid tape, to try and hold the blade firmly in. And even that tape now, it's become loose. And as I was carving a few minutes ago, now the blade has been pushed back and back and back. So it's really, I shouldn't even show such a thing. It's embarrassing. I should replace the handle. It's time to get a new one. I don't know how many handles I've had over the years. I don't really know. I don't keep track of them. The blades last just a few months, so it's impossible. I've been through dozens and dozens and dozens of blades, of course, over the years. But the handles themselves, this might be, I don't know, the fourth or fifth one. I don't actually throw them in the garbage. I throw them in a drawer. And out in Ome, there's a drawer with my carving odds and ends in it. And there must be 3 or 4 handles over there that are really totally worn. One of them has a bunch of teeth marks at the end. Not from the rats here in Asakusa, but when I was still a family guy, we used to spend the summers out in the countryside. And I'd take a block and some tools out in the country in a farmhouse. And the farmhouse was overrun with... That's an email from my daughter. The farmhouse was overrun with just mice, country mice. It wasn't anything awful. And they, because I guess the knife has sweat from my hand and stuff, they would come and nibble at the end of the blade, of the handle. So one of my handles has a bunch of little tiny teeth marks at the end of it. But yeah, it's embarrassing now. This I should make a new one soon, real soon. Right. Check the email. It's from my daughter about her iPhone. Soka soka. Excuse me a second. I'm going to do a quick email to my daughter. She's having trouble with her new phone. Family computer support during this stream. What can we do? I know the microphone is sitting right here. It's in front of my toolbox right here. It's pretty close to me. We've had more trouble. If I put the mic on my chest, there's more trouble. Oh, too much conversation here. I can't cover all this. I saw a little bit of something in the chat about the trees and the wood and stuff, and is that about the update next week on Tuesday? Today's Saturday. On Tuesday, Aoyama-san and I are going out to Ome. We've got some new tools. We've got a bunch of old wood blocks are being shipped out there. They should be arrive over the weekend. And we have a new bandsaw set up, and we're going to set it up on Tuesday and have a go at cutting chunks from older wood blocks that have been used for printmaking already 40, 50, 60 years ago. And we're going to be using some of the old wood, using the bandsaw to take out a portion of the wood that's not been carved yet, the center section of the old wood blocks, discarding the carved top and bottom surfaces. And we'll be using those new planks, new old planks, using those planks to make new wood blocks for our work. So that's happening Tuesday. We won't have a stream about that Tuesday. I might take some video while we're doing it so I can show you some clips later. At some point in the future, when the bandsaw setup is more stable and we know what we're doing, I can maybe do a stream from out there in the future. But at the moment, just to say, starting next Tuesday, we're going to hack into a bunch of old wood blocks and bring back to Asakusa a pile of wood that is resawn from old wood blocks, and we are then going to use that wood to make a set of new wood blocks. And the first project with these new / old wood blocks will be next year's subscription series. We're pretty ready to get started on that, and we're going to be using this old wood for, as far as we can see, if this goes well, we'll be using the old wood for the entire series next year. We'll see how it goes. But that's the intent as we sit here at the moment. Then there will be another test project. We have to get going carving this year's gift print. I'm partway through drawing the color separations to get ready for it. And carving on that will start in a few days, I think, once we get a woodblock ready for it. Not sure what you're asking. Is there a decent amount of wood despite a whole bunch of it already been planed? What we're talking about are blocks that were used to make simple woodblock prints back in about the wartime era. The bunch we've got, they're dating from about the 40s, 50s era. And there were a bunch of blocks that were used in a workshop that used to make prints for fans, summertime fans. And these are not blocks that have any antiquarian or historical interest. Most of the blocks here, they're just rough wood. They were carved with patterns, so it would just be a bunch of green blobs. In fact, imagine the block that I'm using right now. Once the print is, quote, finished, if you're done with what you're doing, this just becomes a piece of wood with random patterns carved on it if you have no requirement to make an edition of the print again. And these are blocks that were used to make very cheap commercial stuff, fans and or food wrappers and stuff like that. But the wood is wonderful wood. It's cherry wood that was harvested, you know, whatever, 1930s and stuff, well dried, used for woodblock prints, and then just simply tossed in a pile. And it's been wonderfully dried over the years. It wasn't expensive when they bought it, but it doesn't matter. It's still way better than what we have right now. And most professional workshops, when they're carving wood for a woodblock print, they don't carve all that deep. I mean, you've seen me, we've talked about it here. People ask me all the time, how deep am I carving? And it's very, very rare for me to go below 4 or 5 millimeters. Extremely rare for me to do that. So these blocks we've got, the wood themselves, they're the traditional depth, which is about 20 millimeters or 23 millimeters thick. The carving has been done on both sides to a depth of about 4 or 5 millimeters max. So that leaves somewhere around 10 or 12 in the middle that hasn't been touched. So the plan is this. We've already done this with a few blocks. We cut it in half down the middle, separating the front and back surfaces. The bandsaw blade takes 2 or 3 millimeters. So we've now got 2 pieces of wood, flat on one side, flat with the bandsaw markings, and the other side carved to a depth of about 5 millimeters in places. We then glue that piece flat side down onto the plywood core. And once that's dry, we then run it through a planer to take off the carved surface. And this leaves us a 5 millimeter deep layer of cherry on top of the plywood core. A brand new block, perfect, ready to use, seasoned, dried, beautiful, ready to use wood. And this is the plan. We've done it with a bunch of test blocks or last month, over the past few weeks. I think I showed them on this stream one day. And next Tuesday we're going to start major production on this. We're going to go through and bandsaw a ton of these blocks, get them all ready, and then glue them down one at a time, and get ourselves a whole new pile of fresh wood blocks ready to use for next year's print projects. We're going to keep looking for new cherry. We're not going to give up on that. We're going to keep buying wood, trying different cherry sources, drying it ourselves. We're going to keep going. It's not a good business plan to run your business model on stuff you've just found in old garages and attics. But in the short term, we desperately need some of this stuff because we don't have any kind of a stable or good supply of new wood. So it's going to be a mix from here on out. And everybody here, all the printers and all the carvers are really excited about this, because having nice wood makes all of our work so much, not just easier, but so much more pleasant. Good wood just carves with a nice, good, crunchy feeling, and you can see where the grain is going. And then the printing jobs are much smoother. These new blocks have so many defects and hard spots and soft spots and upside down grain. The old blocks are just so wonderful to use. I should have started doing this years ago. I was too focused on let's get some new wood, let's get some new wood, let's build our supply chain. And it has been really difficult to do that. And we're getting desperate. So for the next little while, we're going to play both ways. Recycled wood and new wood. Yeah, some of these old blocks we've got, the people we got them from have already planed them. Some of them, not all of them, some of them. And the ones that are already planed are now really thin, and it's going to be really difficult to handle. They may be too thin to slice with a bandsaw. And even once we glue them on, there's not much left to plane down. So there's good news and bad news here. What we want are blocks that haven't been planed. Blocks that were carved on both sides. We will split them in the middle, paste them down onto a core, plane them down and use them on both sides. Next Tuesday is going to be a big experimental day. We'll see. I'll take a bunch of video out there if I can, maybe show it to you Wednesday morning or something like this. Will we be able to rediscover the old technique used to grow the cherry trees? That's a sarcastic question, but it's not a really sarcastic answer. The trees are out there. Cherry trees are not grown in tree farms. Like, they plant trees in a row for sugi and hinoki and other plants. You've seen them in Japan. If you take a train trip, you see the trees on the forest all in a row. Those kind of trees are planted, planted, and harvested. The old cherry trees we use are not, for a couple of reasons. One is there's never enough demand for them to have a whole plantation full of them. Two is if they grow too close together, it's no good. And three, the cycle is way too long. Those trees you see planted on the mountainsides, we're talking about 25, 30, 35-year cycle max until they grow big enough for them to be harvested and used. So it's one guy doing it, and he or his son gets it. Cherry trees, we're looking at 60, 70, 80 years before they're harvested. The generation span is too long. Nobody can grow them as a plantation style unless there was such huge demand from woodblock printmakers. So they're naturally harvested. They're trees that just naturally grew in the mountains, and they're very isolated. There's a mountain cherry here, over in the next mountain there's one or two here, there's one over there, one over there. In the old days, men went hunting every spring. After the other cherry trees had bloomed, they'd find the Yamazakura trees because they bloom later than other cherry trees. They would go hunting in the mountains for these trees, arrange from the landowners to buy them, cut them down, drag them down to the river, bring them to Tokyo. I'm losing track of it. There's too many questions. Blah, 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 blah. The point of putting them on a plywood base like we do with the one you see here, there's 2 or 3 reasons for this. One is that any given amount of cherry, of course, can go much farther. If we get a good slab of wood and slice it into 5mm thicknesses, we can use 2 of those to make 1 block. If we're working in the old way with a 23mm thickness, you can see where we're going. There's only 1/3 amount of use of this. So to maximize the usage of good wood, we put it on plywood. That's one reason. Second reason is these are much, 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 much more stable. A solid piece, even though it's well dried and everything else, will eventually warp and split. And when we're doing it, throwing water on one side, it warps like crazy. So these blocks are much more stable while we're using it, and it's much more stable over a long period of time. So this is a no-brainer. And I have no hesitation in saying that if this plywood technology had been available to the old guys, they would have used it because it's so much better. So I got no problem about that, the fact that we're using plywood. I'm lost. Where was I? This looks like it's not done. Yeah, this part. I think, is this where I was at? I don't know where I was. This maybe done. This is also not done. Too busy chatting, lose track of what's going on here. That looks done, that's done. this is something funny. Is that positive or negative? I think that's okay. I'm not sure what happens up here. We'll wait for this area until I do test printing. I can take a bit more out of it. I think there's the line there. There's some wiggles here. We'll take a bit more out. And the rest here will be carved after we get some test printing done. Okay, I think that's another one done. Okay, let's find another tentacle, paste it down and get more. Okay, what's next? Let's do this one up here. So bit by bit, we're working through the tracing, peeling these tentacles off one by one by one. Oops, way too much. Oh, this must be Kawai-san getting ready. We get that time, 9:20 or something, 9:17. Getting ready for our start of our big weekend here. Kawai-san and I are on duty just today, the two of us. Tomorrow I think there's 3 staff on, but today it's really short-handed. So that's him and me together. Okay, we'll just get this pasted down and leave it off, finish for the day here. It's good. It's nice at the end of one day's work to get the next day's work set up and ready, so you're not coming in dry to the block, you know. That's an interesting comparison. I read an article somewhere, I think it was John McPhee, a famous writer, essayist and writer. And he talked about a real interesting trick he had that enabled him to keep going with his work steady day by day and not getting into a sort of a block and stuff. If you think about a guy writing a book or whatever, he's going to sit down, write something, and you get to the end of a chapter or something, and there we are. There's the end of, chapter 1, finished, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to get ready later on and start chapter 2. The thing though is when you come down and sit to start chapter 2, you sit there with an empty sheet of paper in your typewriter, whatever, this old type, so, and how do I get started? How do I get started? You've lost your stream, your thread of what you're doing. So he said what his trick was that when he was writing, he'd get to the end of a section. It was a chapter 1 or what kind of section. And without stopping, he would write the first 2 or 3 lines of the next section, just the first 2 or 3 lines. And then he would take his break. Go and do his couple of days off or go and give a speech or whatever. Then when he came back to his workbench, the first 2 or 3 lines are there ready for him. And that's it. You sat down and continued typing, blank, 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 blank. There's no gap or break. Where do I go from here? What am I doing now? What's going on? And in a way, what I've done right now is the same sort of thing. Bye, son. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Instead of finishing off one of these tentacles and say, okay, goodbye, let's go, see you tomorrow, back. Coming back the next day. Now, what am I going to do? What I've done now is I've prepared this thing actually, so when I come here and sit down tomorrow morning, I know exactly what to do. Bang, you sit down and you get going and you get to work. And it's an interesting point that maybe could have applications. You're doing your homework, you're writing a book, you're doing a woodblock, whatever. Don't finish off with one section and leave it, and then come back fresh. Now what do I do? As you're finishing, start just a little bit of the next bit, so that when you come down and sit at your workbench, bang, you move straight into it. Okay, I'm out of here. Kawai-san's here now. We have a very, 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 very busy weekend coming in front. What tomorrow's stream will be, I'm not quite sure. It may be I'll be here just carving more of these dots. It may be upstairs on the 3rd floor printing. We talked about this yesterday. I have to do some more share certificates. We're running out of share certificates to send to our Patreon supporters. And I've got to get going on some of those. So that might be what's happening tomorrow, or it might be here. Or maybe we'll be just inundated by this whole weekend thing. We don't have any idea about what. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Thanks very much, guys. I saw some of the stream here, didn't see the rest of it. I'll have a look at the lunchtime or dinner time and see if I can see what I've missed. Anyway, for me, over and out. Thanks very much for watching. It's been a not so terribly interesting stream, but this is a woodblock printmaker's work. That's the way she goes. See you next time. Thanks very much. Camera off. Didn't talk too much about the new video that went up. That's interesting. That video kind of seems to be a bit of a sleeper. We'll see how it goes. Okay, guys. Thanks again. See you next time.